Hello, and welcome to the 2025 Cornelius Candidate Forum, presented by the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. Tonight's 2-hour session provides residents with the opportunity to hear directly from candidates, learn about their positions, and submit questions on issues that matter most to our community. Justin Ckezepis is your moderator. Let's join the action, live from Cornelius Town Hall.
And now to the mayoral candidates for the town of Cornelius. We appreciate each of you joining us this evening. Be willing to take questions from the crowd. Again, Vanna White is accepting questions over there in the corner, and she will bring them over and we will screen them before we ask. And so similarly to the earlier round, you all were here for that. I will start left to right. I will end right to left, just as we did again earlier. Mr. Biladeau, if you would please introduce yourself and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Well, thank you, Justin. And thank you to WSIC. Appreciate what you're doing here. Bill Russell and the Chamber, always a good supporter of our town. Before I start with anything, I always like to acknowledge the most important person in the room, wearing a beautiful shirt. My wife, Chantal, of 42 years. And I have to get the numbers right. So married for 42 years, living here in Cornelius for 24. Love the town, raised my family here, wonderful daughter and son. And now 3 grandbabies, age 7, 2, and 5 weeks. So we're truly blessed. One of the things that I see a lot of familiar faces that you know about me is that I have been involved in a big way in this community. I've brought my skills from working with a Fortune 500 insurance company. That means that we have, a fiscal conservative approach when you work for an insurance company. Started my own business here, an insurance agency that was headquartered in Cornelius, and we had several locations throughout the state. But what I learned over time in business was that you have to have a good team. And as mayor, you have to bring out the best in the team you have. And I was just so very impressed with what you saw just now in terms of the candidates and the incumbents for the board. I look forward to working with them. Throughout my career, I've learned to solve problems. I've learned to listen. And I think that's important in the role of a mayor. You basically are setting the agenda for the team. And I look forward to do that. I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with HOAs, which can be very testy. If you've ever worked with an HOA, you get your feet wet very quick on what the issues are. And what I heard tonight was still a lack of understanding of what the key, most important issue is in this town in terms of traffic congestion and controlling the growth. There's a lot that still hasn't come out of the ground. So when we talk about what we're going to do, we have to look at what has already been done. And I'm here to tell you that my agenda will be just about that, working quickly to get things where we need to get them. So thank you for your program tonight. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, if you would please introduce yourself and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Yes, thank you so much for hosting this. My name is Kenny Campbell, and I'm the new guy here. So thank you so much to the candidates before me. Loved hearing you guys, and thank you for your service here in the community, and for Denis and Woody for you guys serving this community as well. So I am a business leader. I've been in leadership for the last 20 years. My wife and I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I was a pastor up there for 9 years. Then we moved down to Atlanta, and I worked in the nonprofit sector for a little bit. And then we looked around the country to figure out where we wanted to live, and we found Cornelius, and we fell in love with it. So I'm running for mayor because I want to be an advocate for the residents of Cornelius, from the most affluent residents to the most marginalized residents. I want to be someone who listens to the voice of everybody in Cornelius and make sure that their voice is valued, that their voice is heard, and that the people of Cornelius are a part of the decision-making process through every step of the way. So I'm excited to do this. I'm a political outsider. I've never been involved in politics before, so this is my first go at throwing my hat in the ring, and I'm looking forward to the questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, if you would please introduce yourself and why are you running for mayor of Cornelius?
Thank you. Well, I've been that for a while, Justin. But thanks for asking because it's important. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my wife that's here with me, my ardent supporter, works hard in every aspect, a good advisor as well. So Sharon, glad to have you out tonight. She doesn't have on the shirt, but she's got a big old button on her lapel. So that's a pretty nice button too. So I've been your mayor for a while now. We've made great progress here in this community. You just saw my commissioners in motion just a few minutes ago. The group that I've worked with for the past 2 years, and they all support me. That was big to me for them to step up and actually endorse me. I've endorsed them back. So we got a great group together that will hit the ground running on day one. I'm a banker. I'm a financial person. I'm a church organist. I love the arts. And most of all, I'm a advocate for civic responsibility and civic duty. And I think my background in running a lot of civic organizations, including the Chamber for a year or so way back when, was certainly part of my journey. So thank you for having us tonight, Bill and Justin.
Thank you all. We will have, again, a variety of questions, and as you could imagine, several topics you may have been asked before, but we have quite a few to start off with. First, we'll start with the role of the mayor. Mayor is a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities? Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things, maybe the most important thing a mayor can do is to be a great listener, to be able to hear the issues that the residents are facing in the town and the challenges they have. And a quote that I love is the people who are closest to the problems are the most equipped to solve them. And so I want to make sure that part of what I do, part of my priorities as mayor is on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, meeting with residents one-on-one, meeting with business leaders, hearing from them what their issues are and what their ideas are to solve them. As a business leader myself, I'm a creative problem solver, I'm an innovator, and I love to get things done. And I think there is a sense of urgency that we need behind some of the issues that we're facing. And so, yeah, I think part of my priorities early on would be to meet with people, hear their concerns, and creatively problem solve with them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, the role of the mayor is as a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities?
Thank you. Yes, top priority is to bring urgency, a sense of urgency to the position, because we have heard for a number of years from the residents of our town what is taking away from their quality of life. So we have a pretty good idea of where to start. But what I'd like to do is make sure that we're reaching and casting a wider net. Many times we'll have meetings with 5 or 6 people, probably more staff and elected leaders at meetings. What I'd like to do is prioritize getting out into the community, actually having a meeting at an HOA or at a local church or wherever folks and whatever time they'd like to meet. It's clear that the Monday morning 8:30 coffee chat is not working. And what we want to do is make sure that we're exchanging information, making sure that we're listening and we're acting. When I hear about a task force, I think 7 months, a year, I think slow. I think what we need to do is make sure that we're moving quickly and addressing the issues.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, the role of the mayor is a champion for the town and all residents. If elected, what are your top priorities?
Well, first of all, my top priority has always been building relationships with folks that can help our town, i.e. at the federal level, at the state level, and at the county level, and throughout DOT and all kinds of organizations. My relationships are in place. On day one, that process will continue as it has been. You know, as far as communicating with our citizens, Denis mentioned the coffee chats. If you add them all up, I started the coffee chats many years ago when I ran for commissioner. And we didn't have the technical aspects of Zoom and broadcast at that particular time, but we do now. And that's the way a lot of folks actually entertain themselves to hear what's going on in our town. If you can go to all of our coffee chats, you will keep up with everything going on, every department in this town. We'll have about 300, 350 people end up watching those chats online. That's just the new way of doing things.
Thank you, sir. This next question, transportation. Mr. Biladeau, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
Well, I think you, in the first session, you asked a question of what would you ask of the governor or the NCDOT? I would ask them to not spend $1.5 billion on an antique diesel train and put it to good use, opening the lanes, getting rid of our tolls, doing something that will buy us time. And I believe that in 10 years, which was the window for this train, there will be technology gains. There will be modes of transportation that will be much more accepted by the public. For example, our village rider was not convenient, was not timely, so the bus service was discontinued. I would like to see something that is convenient, especially for elderly folks that may not be able to get on a train, transfer to another train, and be concerned about safety. So I think over the period of time, let's free up immediately some free lanes, and let's also look to the future with technical advance.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
There's really not a plan B. But in light of that, we can't give up because it could fail. I certainly hope not. But $6 million of road money to our town is transformational. It should not fail. The folks in this community tell us transportation is our number one priority. If you really believe that, and if you mean that, then this tax will provide $6 million annually to this town going forward. That's going to happen. It's legislated by the state of North Carolina, not the city of Charlotte, the state of North Carolina. And we will get that money. Now, as far as the train goes, evidently Denis is a little bit behind in his technology because the type of diesel that we would get here in this community for the distance it has to travel is going to be first class. It really will. So, the tracks are bought, they're in place, and we are ready to get that project moving. Charlotte owns the tracks. They paid $100 million for them. And so we're pretty sure that that's going to happen with good top technology coming to our region.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, if the upcoming proposed sales tax increase fails, what is your plan B?
Yeah, well, first I'd like to say I am a supporter of the sales tax increase. I think we need immediate solutions to our traffic needs, kind of like what Woody was just saying here. There is no plan B. We can't wait on these issues. We need to address them right now. And I think if we're waiting for the future, for technology to develop, that's just going to keep pushing these problems down the road when I think we really need to figure out creatively how we can address them in the immediate future. So as far as how to do that, I would love to continue to work with the traffic planning boards, figure out what the solutions might look like. And then once we figure out what those are, to take action and make sure that they get done and stop kicking projects down the road.
Thank you. Turning now to the arts. Mr. Washam, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center's growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Well, I'm a big-time advocate of the Kane Center. I raised much of the money of the $25 million that came about to put it in place and allow us to open debt-free on day one. That was a pretty good feeling. So I support the arts. The town must continue a role. It's an economic development driver for this town, for this downtown. It's the centerpiece of our downtown redevelopment, and we cannot quit funding the Kane Center ever. Now, will we look at it closely? If we can reel it back a little bit, that's okay, but we will work hand in hand with the Kane Center. Look what they've done with the expansion of their arts exhibit, or their arts, the clay works, and also their office space to renew 2 historic houses in our community right around the corner from our new history museum, which is moving forward very nicely. So maintaining that fabric that this community grew up with is pretty important to me. But I believe in the arts for sure, and I believe in supporting Kane Center all the way.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center, growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Hate the arts. No, just kidding. My wife actually is taking an art class right now at the Kane Center. I think it's a very valuable centerpiece to our community. And when we talk about having a town that has charm, I think investing in our culture is extremely important to that charm of that community. So I'm a big supporter of the Kane Center, and I would love to see us continue to support it. You know, we talked about a little bit about self-sustainability. I think that's a good idea to help them work towards that plan. But in the meantime, I think, you know, helping promote the events more, helping collaborate on things that we can invite the community to, helping spread the word, helping, you know, having a space where community members can get together and enjoy life together and do things like art classes and go to concerts is a really important part of a community. So I am a supporter.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, what is your opinion on arts, including Kane Center, growth and funding in the future of Cornelius?
Sure. Regarding the arts, before there was a Kane Center, I was involved with downtown Cornelius, with the Taba Walk, with First Fridays. In fact, one of my very first campaign stops when I ran for a commissioner was at Old Town Public House. You know, that's just an iconic place to be. I also was a founding board member of the Kane Arts Center. I was instrumental in hiring the executive director, Justin Dion. So I certainly have grown up with Kane. I support Kane Center, but I also support what we're doing with the remainder of the artists and the folks that are downtown. I think Justin's doing a fine job trying to spread his wings and getting others involved with the Kane Center programs, and that should continue. It should continue to spread. So very supportive of the arts, Kane Center and beyond.
Thank you, sir. Turning now to another small topic, development. Mr. Campbell, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
Well, I think the master development plan was put together thoughtfully and with research, and I think it probably is important for us to stick to it. And so, you know, once we develop a plan, if we keep going back and forth on, you know, should we follow it? Should we not follow it? Should we make changes? We always need to have the opportunity to reassess things and, you know, figure out what's best moving forward. You know, there is a thing called the sunk cost fallacy, where you don't want to keep putting bad money after good or good money after bad. So we need to be able to do that. But I think once we develop a plan, we should do everything we can to stick to it, and that could be like our guardrails as we move forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
Well, you know, I did work with Commissioner Osbourne on the land use plan, and I could see within that room that there was very thoughtful citizens looking at what would be best. And the situation was such that I asked each one of those folks to not just think about their personal agenda, but think about what your neighbors and the community would like to see. So I think, you know, we have tools today, and I was so pleased to see the planning department start to use AI and other ways to paint a picture, right? You can have a lot of words on paper and people interpret it a different way than others, but we should do more to bring the planning department. We'll probably talk about transportation, but the Transportation Advisory Board and the town board together so that we all know the direction that we're moving. And that is the direction that our citizens would like to see. And we're not there yet, but we can get there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, do you believe in strictly following the master development plan for the town of Cornelius?
I do. And I believe if you make a plan, you need to follow it. If you're not going to follow it, you need to change it. It's just real simple. So, and I do think the plan has got enough, I guess the right word's flexibility built into it, that you can do some pretty interesting things. We've got to get that right because, you know, we don't have much land left here in Cornelius. And each project that comes our way, much of it is the conditional zoning process. You know, we need to get it right in terms of what arrives on any parcel in this town. I think that's important. We need to absolutely maintain the integrity of that plan. But there's times that you might need to make an exception. But if it continues, then certainly the plan needs to be looked at, and I think the current commissioners are willing to do that if there's a need. I don't see it yet, but there may be a day, particularly as we talk about the rail going up and down, the light rail going up and down the tracks over here. We'll need to probably take another look and examine that as time comes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, I'll ask you the next question here as well. Relationships. How would you manage and grow relationships both at a local, state, and federal level?
It's a really good question, and it's something I really hang my hat on, particularly as it relates to DOT. I have become pretty good friends with the new chairman of the NCDOT board. I've spent a lot of time with him here in town. I like to drag him up here and let him drive in our traffic, and he does that regularly. But relationships at every level of government is critically important because there's funding provided at every level of government that we need to put ourselves in place to jump on when the opportunity is right. And we do a doggone good job with that in this town. The grants that comes our way in every aspect from the federal level right on down to the county level is pretty incredible. They've given us millions and millions of dollars, and it's through those relationships. I'm a relationship banker. That's how I've grown up, and that's the job I've had for the last 50 years. So I think I know how to establish relationships and enhance and embellish those relationships. So pretty proud of that as far as our town goes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how would you manage and grow relationships at the local, state, and federal level?
When I look at successful, long-standing politicians, whether it be at the federal level, state, county, I find that they're more about the issues than the individual. And that's the situation we have here. What has the cronyism brought to us? Is there a way to get roads built outside of the CRTPO? That is a thing of the past. And it's a very funny story when you hear our deputy manager, Wayne Herron, say he used to bring a turkey to folks in Raleigh so we perhaps would get better roads. And now there's a formula. Things are set. And I go back to the point of it is good to have friends. When you're in position for 8 years, you're going to have friends. The mayor's position should be respected as the voice of the town. But at the end of the day, successful people in political positions are looking at issues, not the individual.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, how would you manage and grow relationships at the local, state, and federal level?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key responsibilities of a mayor is being a relationship builder, is being somebody who prioritizes and puts time and energy into those relationships, having face time, traveling, being willing to do that. And so as a mayor, it would start with the residents, like I talked about earlier. And then, of course, now we got to work our way up and make relationships and build and continue to grow those relationships at the local leadership level, at the state leadership level, and at the federal level. So that would be something I would prioritize and make sure happens.
Thank you, sir. The next question is on budgeting. Some people are expressing concerns of deferring costs in the town. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term? And I'll start with you, Mr. Biladeau.
Well, if you look at our fund balance, we're at a record high $53 million on a $39 million annual budget. And when you start to dig into what we're actually putting into this fund balance, there's a couple of lines and a new one, a line item for emergency funds. This is over and above the 40% minimum that we have as a town. So when I look at folks that say, well, we have the lowest tax rate in the area, take a look at the other component of what you pay for property tax, and that's your assessed value. You'll see that, as we did in the last reval, Cornelius gets a pretty high number, higher than our other towns in the area for assessed value. We have another reval coming up in 2027, and hopefully some of that has leveled off. But we were at 58% average increase in the assessed value times that lower rate. But when you put it together, what we have in Cornelius is a tax rate that people pay attention to, but should look at the total bottom bill.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, Some people in the town are concerned of deferring costs. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term in office?
Yeah, well, from what I heard from our town manager, it doesn't seem like we will. I think there's thoughtful ways we can manage spending, we can manage the budget without having to raise taxes. Worst case scenario, we have to look at every option because we need to keep that minimum. But I hope and I'll do everything I can during my term to not raise taxes.
Mr. Washam, some people in the town are concerned with deferring costs. Do you believe a tax increase will be necessary during your term in office?
I don't think so. There was a point in time that I was really concerned about that and that our tax rate would get out of hand. And that hasn't happened, mainly because we've got a great board that keeps a thumb on all that. Expenses, all the aspects, our revenues, and we do need more revenues. And that's where this transportation tax comes into play a little bit. Why not let 30% of the people that pay that tax, they're going to be from out of the county. Why not let them support our roads here? So I think we're good for the next couple of years because if we get that supplement, that will make a difference. But, we've got to pay our police. We've got to pay our firemen. We've got to keep our public safety intact. And I certainly don't want to shortchange on that end of the spectrum. If it takes a tax increase to do that, then we're going to have to do it. I have no idea what the economy is going to produce going forward, but I sure don't see the tax increase at this time.
Thank you, sir. Switching now to schools. Mr. Campbell, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
Good question. Yeah, well, I worked with teenagers for a large part of my career. So I was a middle school pastor for a long time. And one of the things that I love most is engaging with the next generation. We had over 400 teenagers in our ministry, and we were constantly out in the community working with local organizations like local food banks, local homeless shelters, after-school programs, mobilizing teenagers to serve in their community, looking for volunteer opportunities to find ways to get teenagers in this younger generation involved and engaged in the community. So I would love to partner with local schools and local educators and figure out how can we engage the next generation in what the town is doing and get them mobilized into the town, serving and finding volunteer opportunities for them and just creating events for them to spend time with their families out in the community.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
Well, I spend a lot of time in our schools, and I'm willing and ready to communicate needs of those schools to whomever will listen. We have a hard time doing that with CMS. They're so big and so broad, to communicate with them is a little difficult sometimes, but you got to keep trying. So I spend a lot of time with kids. I spend a lot of time in this room with classrooms. I go visit schools, go visit classrooms, whether it's a public or private school throughout our community. So spending times with kids, they make you feel a little bit like a rock star, which is a fun thing to do. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of my job that I really enjoy doing. But I think, we've got to produce our leaders of the future. We've got to produce our leaders to get us to the next point of time, if you will. Most of us that are elected aren't going to do it forever. And, so I think our kids, I view it as an investment of my time to spend time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how do you see the role of mayor helping support schools throughout the community?
I believe the highest level of support that we can provide is to provide safety. When I was a commissioner, I brought forward an amendment to our budget to add another SRO, safety officer, in the elementary school. We had agreed to have one officer, and I thought one officer between two schools just wouldn't cut it. And the board agreed with me, and we went ahead and added that second SRO. We have a real pressing need staying with safety on Bailey Road. That is a very, very unsafe area when you have cars with parents parked in the middle of the road, children going everywhere. If you've been there during the pickup or drop off, it's the Wild West. There's vehicles going everywhere, parking where they want to. I think there's a solution. I've met with some of the senior folks at CMS, and they're willing to listen. They're willing to do something to help the safety of the children of this community. Adding 350 children from Davidson and not another SRO is probably short-sighted.
Thank you, sir. Back to roads. Mr. Biladeau, which road project would you say is the highest priority for the town of Cornelius?
Well, road projects, if we rely on the NCDOT, we're going to be talking 10 years out, 5 years out. Last election, there was a lot of noise made that we had 13 projects. But when you put them over time and think about how long it's taken to get just to move a shovel of dirt, it loses some of its punch. So for me, the most important thing we can do right now is use some of that $53 million and get to work on things that are maybe small, but have a real impact. People may be familiar with adding the left turn lane on Westmoreland Road. There are other issues, left turn lanes at Bailey Road and 115, unsafe conditions on Jeton Road. So when you ask what would be my priority, I would say let's get to those road projects that we can control, we can manage, and we can afford, and get them done during my 2-year term.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, which road project would you say is the highest priority in the town of Cornelius?
Well, the one I think about the most is the widening of West Ckezepis, because I'm on that road every day of my life, sitting through multiple cycles, and it's not fun. It's not something I enjoy doing. And so I know that would be a project that I would support for sure and want to make sure there's some urgency behind. Also, the research has showed that roundabouts really do help push a lot of traffic through a lot more than not having them. So I think adding the roundabouts in the appropriate places as well as widening Ckezepis are two of the projects that I absolutely would support.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, which road project would you say is the highest priority in the town of Cornelius?
Well, I want to make one comment about the fund balance. There's a real fallacy going on about our fund balance because all but about $3 million of that $53 million you keep hearing about is committed. It's committed. Some of it's committed to roads. Some of it's committed to the requirement that our own policies and the state requires us to keep for emergencies. So, when you boil it all down, you get $3 million. That's not going to build a lot of road projects, number one. As far as I'm concerned, we have 3 projects under contract. That means happening right now with the orange barrels out that are coming our way. We have 3 more that'll be under contract by the first of the year. West Ckezepis, it's my mission to move that up to 26, and I think we can do that. That's a lot of road projects. So my most important road project, those are happening. They're coming to pass. They're happening. Exit 27 is my top priority.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
Oh, absolutely. A train station, bringing folks that may not be the folks we want in our town. So developing downtown is very, very important. And we've got a good start in a 2050 plan, but we don't want to be, no pun intended, sidetracked by something that, if you can imagine, a train coming across Mays Road, coming by Bailey Road into our downtown, where we already have a very limited area of space. So moving congestion from the DDI or exit 28 over to downtown feels like a bad plan to me. It feels like we should do a little more investigation about something that we asked for by the time it's delivered 40 years in the making to have a diesel train. That's, to me, not really what our downtown needs if we want to keep it the way that folks want to see it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
I don't know about concerned, but one of the priorities I would have is making sure that we maintain those green spaces and that charm that we have. I heard one of the candidates talk about those big trees as you drive down Ckezepis, and I totally agree. That's an experience that I would not want to lose, and make sure as we're developing, as we're revitalizing the downtown, that we are focusing on maintaining green spaces and open spaces so it's not too congested and just turns into a bunch of buildings.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Washam, are there any aspects of developing downtown that have you concerned?
Yes, there is. And the main one is traffic and gridlock in our downtown. We've got to figure out some new ways to get in and around our downtown to get people moving properly. Those are in this downtown master plan once you study those, but we've got to implement them properly. And I certainly intend for us to do that, but that's certainly in the picture. As far as the train coming up here is concerned, I'm really concerned about safety as well. But I want to take part of that 1 cent that goes to the train part of it and commit that to safety. I don't care if you have to put an officer on every train or an armed guard, whoever it takes to make that particular transportation aspect safe. If we don't make it safe, people aren't going to ride it. So it's got to be safe. And, as long as I'm in a position to make a difference there, we're going to spend money on safety on those trains as it moves back and forth up and down the tracks.
Thank you, sir. On to task forces and committees. Mr. Campbell, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Yeah, well, we talked a minute ago about the next generation and about the youth in this community. And I think having more investment into things like a youth advisory board and figuring out how we can communicate to the next generation and getting them involved in the town and in the events that are happening here. So investing in things like our social media, investing in things like our communication channels to be able not only the younger generation, but the young adults and the young families who are here too. So figuring out how to best support them and get them actively engaged in the community, I think would be a top priority.
Thank you. Mr. Washam, for task forces and committees, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Yes. And the main reason I like task forces and committees, it brings citizens together. You get citizen input through that process. Does it take a little bit longer sometimes? Yeah, might, but you get buy-in from and great ideas. An example is the mayor's transportation task group. We had a fabulous group of folks. There was nothing happening with our transportation. Denis was on CRTPO at that time. There was nothing happening. So on a defensive move, I set up that particular committee. And after that, guess what? Discretionary money comes our way. We get projects under contract. Things start happening, mainly because DOT knew we were serious, and the money came our way. I was very, very pleased about that. Jim Engel chaired it, did a great job. And so I see a great place in our town, mainly for the citizens' feedback aspect of it, which makes us a better town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, for task forces and committees, are there any ideas for task forces or committees you would like to see happen during your term?
Might want to take a look at the minutes from those task force meetings that really ended up with nothing directly related to them. But rather than create a new task force, what I'd like to see happen is elevate the Transportation Advisory Board. That is citizen-led. There are some very, very plugged-in folks from the technical side of what they do. There are some from the planning department. They have over 50 recommendations that Commissioner Osbourne is working with very nicely. Those are the type of items that I mentioned earlier that we should jump on. I would like to see the Transportation Advisory Board get the same level of attention as the Planning Board or even the Town Board. Because when you think about the number one issue that we have now, we have a Citizens Advisory Board that is pointing out, here are some things we can afford to do. And if you go down that $53 million, you'll see $11.3 million for road capital reserve. We see partnership with NCDOT, another $3.5 million. We see emergency reserve of 5%. We have some money that we can use that isn't going to hurt where we are going into the future. It will help us.
Thank you, sir. Working with other elected officials in the town. Mr. Washam, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward, even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Well, the mayor's in a a very unusual role in that we don't vote. That's just not what we do. We can talk and we can express our opinion, but, I found this particular board very easy to work with because we are aligned. We do have some differences, but we work it out. We talk it out. We reason it out. We include staff in our conversations. And we not only work, but, within our own town, we work within our adjoining towns, which is important as well. My relationships with the neighboring mayors, my board's relationship with the neighboring commissioners is absolutely awesome. And that makes us a better town. That makes them a better town as well. So those kind of relationships that we have created, we need to continue those. And I think that's the role that I would like to continue moving forward in the next term.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Well, the mayor creates the agenda. And you'll never hear me say that I do not have a vote, therefore I'm not accountable or responsible or can't make things happen. I think if we're more proactive early on, I think if we have the town board, the planning board, transportation advisory board meet at least once a year and more, actually understand the direction, there will not be the wild swings that you see today where one board votes 7-1 one way and the other's 5-0 the other way. That's not something that I was familiar with in working through teamwork. You really have to start early and have everyone on the same page and understand. And at the end of the day, the mayor does play a critical role to moving things along and having the pace on the agenda for the town.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, how do you believe you can help the town continue moving forward, even if you and the other elected officials disagree?
Yeah, I'm a really collaborative leader, and I think a big piece of that is being a good listener. When you have a disagreement with somebody or you don't understand their perspective, the first thing you have to do is really try to understand. You have to have empathy for where they're coming from and what their perspective is. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be an advocate for the residents over anything else. So if I have a disagreement with someone on the board, it's going to be because I believe that the citizens of Cornelius have a different perspective on it, or they're leaning a different way. But, we will keep things going. We'll work together. And I think the way I'll do that best is be able to listen and understand and try to find common ground with the other people around me.
Thank you, sir. We are coming to the end of our evening tonight. We do appreciate all the questions that were submitted to us this evening. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm now going to go right to left, and I will ask you, Mr. Washam, why should people vote for you?
Well, I've had a good role here with being an elected official in this town. It started back in 2013 as a commissioner, mayor pro tem for 2 terms, and then deciding to run for mayor. It's my hometown. It's a town I love, deeply love. I understand growing up here the fabric that brought us where we are today. And a lot of that we need to swing forward into the future and maintain that, because there was some good stuff coming out of our past that we can't let go of. So I certainly believe in that. I believe in the relationships that are in place right now. I believe in the board that I could potentially serve with. And I think we can go to work on day one and make a difference. There'll be no lag time with me continuing as your mayor with the board that you saw up here tonight. I think it would be a strong statement back to the community that we could keep our town going in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, why should people vote for you?
So I'm running to give people another option. I want to bring a fresh energy to the town of Cornelius. I want to bring a fresh perspective, someone who's been outside of politics, and bring that perspective into the leadership here in Cornelius. And like I mentioned earlier, I am a person of the people. I want to make sure that I'm listening to the people. I want to make sure that I understand the concerns, and I will work hard every single day if I'm elected mayor of Cornelius. So if you are looking for something new, if you're looking for something fresh, if you're looking for some new energy in Cornelius, I'm the person to vote for.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biladeau, why should people vote for you?
Well, I think you saw today that we have a very solid board here, and I'd like to bring the best out of them. I don't understand about hitting the road, hitting it in January. We're on the road right now with these commissioners, and unfortunately, the last 2 or 3 months there haven't been any report outs. There haven't been an emphasis placed on what these citizens have told us they want to see happen. In fact, we had a September 2nd board meeting that lasted less than 10 minutes. So I think there's a sense of urgency that I will bring, a fresh look at the budget, a fresh look at our fund balance, and work well with many of the commissioners that I've worked with in the past. So I look forward to support. I look forward to being your next mayor of Cornelius.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to all of you being here tonight as well. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you to Bill Russell and the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to partner with them on this event. This is our second in our series of 3. We do have next week on Thursday night, the Town of Huntersville Commissioners, board member, running for board, as well as the mayoral race there as well. Thank you to CJ back at the producer's booth. Thank you to Bill for running the board here as well. Thank you to the Town of Cornelius also for allowing us in here to the beautiful facility and using the technology. Have a great evening.